My name is Steve Podrachik. I'm the CEO of Seattle Avionics. Today we're going to be giving the first presentation ever given for a new system that we call Atlas. Atlas could be considered an online flight planner, works in your Mac and your PC, but I think that you'll find that it does quite a bit more than that. Its design goal was to combine various different websites that you may go to for, say, weather, or for flight planning, or for airport information, or for plates, or for fuel prices. It does all of those things for you in one very easy to use interface. And of course, it's compatible with the members of the FlyQ family. So if you plan it here, it shows up automatically in FlyQ EFB on your iPad, or FlyQ Pocket on your iPhone or on your Android phone, and vice versa. So let's talk about the major features. One of the things that you can do is to hit a button in the upper left corner of the screen. It looks like a targeting site, essentially the same button that's in FlyQ EFB. And it will immediately lock onto your location. This is dependent on your web browser. But locks onto your location, shows you all the nearby airports, and shows you what the maps look like in that area. So let's talk a little bit about the maps. The maps are incredibly fast, incredibly clear. You can see that now. Right now I'm overlaying radar images. Let me zoom out the map a little bit. All right, so here's radar on a sectional. If you're an IFR pilot, and if you would prefer an IFR chart, you hit the layers button, very similar to FlyQ EFB. You can select an IFR low map, satellite imagery. You can select road map, terrain, or let's go back to sectionals, for example, and start mixing and matching some of our weather. We can add a satellite layer onto it. We can put on, say, surface winds, put on the surface temperatures, put on dew points, take away any of these things, make it a little easier to see. As you can clearly see, it's very, very fast for doing all of this. And you can zoom in rapidly too. The search list on the left side of the screen can be constructed either based on your current location, or you can type in something, much like you can in FlyQ EFB. For example, I'm in the Seattle area, but let's say that I was planning a flight to the Portland area. If I don't know the airports in the area, I can just type Portland, and it shows me all the airports in Portland very quickly. I have some larger airports. These are the ones that are controlled, they're blue towers. It shows me what the weather conditions are like. It looks like it's mostly VFR, but it's low IFR at the Portland International Jetport. Of course, that's in Portland, Maine, so probably not that relevant. I see all the different cities with the name Portland, and there are a lot more of them than I would have expected on here. Now, if I want to, much like in FlyQ EFB, I immediately see information about the airports on the list. I know that the Portland Hillsborough Airport, for example, I see what its runway looks like. It has its longest runway is 6,600 feet, 1,200 foot TPA. I see fuel prices, more on that later, and so on. Now here's a nice low touch. One of the things that we've tried to do here is to take full advantage of the fact that you're sitting at a PC or at a Mac with a mouse and a keyboard. So we have a lot more options on here than you might with a product that runs on an iPad. For example, let me get rid of this map here for a second. If I want to see what Portland Hillsborough looks like without seeing more information about it, just see it on the map, I can click the button that looks like a map right here on the side, and it jumps immediately to Portland. We also have the capability to show a lot more detail about that airport. Right now, of course, we're showing the sectional, but if I go back up to my layers button, I can switch that to something like maybe the satellite imagery. Let's zoom in on that. So you can really see in detail what that airport's like. In fact, if you're maybe driving there or you want to rent a car, you can also select the road one. See that. Or see terrain. All of these maps are available just at a click. And of course, you can mix and match anything you like. All right, so let's switch that back to sectional. If I want to know what the fuel prices in the area were, I can hit the fuel icon. If I want to see what the weather in that area was, I can hit this icon. But let's just select the Portland area right now. I'll select Portland Hillsborough. This is the information that you see, and it looks very, very familiar, but not identical to what you see in FlyQ EFB on the iPad. The elevation, the TPA, fuel prices, sunrise, sunset. You see a graphical image of the map. You also see a couple of other maps, and let's click on those. This is the FAA map. Here we're taking full advantage of the split screen capability in the product. This is another type of airport diagram that we'll be introducing soon in some of our other products. Very handy. All of your comm frequencies, your runways are clearly laid out here. The nav aids in the area are here. Again, if you're used to using FlyQ EFB, this looks very familiar, but it's not identical. Let's take a look at weather. We immediately see my local, the regional, and the national radar. Let's put that on the screen, shall we? So that's what the regional radar looks like. National radar, maybe a local. Again, the split screen comes in very handy. I see my weather reports, I see METARs and TAFs. Unlike EFB, we do have the capability now to show you both the translated and the raw at the same time, which is kind of nice. The raw is in gray. You see winds aloft and so on. If I want to see a 7-day forecast, I already know my current temperature. To see a 7-day forecast, I just click, and here's my 7-day forecast. Click it again to hide it. Let's flip this back to the map, shall we? If I want to see an approach procedure, I just click on the Procedures tab, tap on it, and again, you see the procedures. Obviously, you can print these as well, but again, the split screen capability makes this incredibly easy to do. Just flip between plates. If I want to see the AFD, I can see it bigger either here, or I can put this into my split screen, and maybe make it a little larger there. I can see the other services at this airport. For example, in looking at this, I see that Aero Air has fuel prices. I see what the fuel are. Let's say, though, that we were at that airport and we want to update the fuel. If I click on Update Fuel, you now have the capability to override the fuel prices and put in a new one, even though this was just updated a couple of days ago. So users can now type in their own fuel prices. All right, what else can we do? Let's take a look at the services again. So a lot of detail about them. We have information about the lodging and the restaurants, attractions, all in there. If you want to see another airport that's nearby, you can hit the nearby, and it shows you the airports that are near Portland Hillsborough, just like that. It's very, very simple to do. All right, let's talk about some of the fuel stuff. You can just flip back to here. There's a big button on the top that looks like fuel. This button doesn't exist in any of our products yet. This is what the fuel looks like when I click on the fuel tab. It immediately shows me the fuel prices sorted by distance from the airport they last selected, which is HIO. So I know that AeroNav has 100 low lead and Jet A. The Jet A is quite a lot cheaper than the 100 low lead. I know Global Aviation has fuel, and so on. I can just scroll down the list. Of course, I can click on any of this stuff to see more information about the airport or about the FBO, whatever I like. But this is now sorted by distance. A couple of things. First of all, I don't fly a jet, so I'm going to uncheck the Jet A box. Just get rid of all the Jet A prices. I don't need them. Also, I'm cheap. So instead of sorting by distance, I'll sort it by lowest price. And now here they are, sorted by lowest. So I know that if I'm willing to go 54 miles away from that airport, I can pick up fuel, which is quite a bit cheaper than the fuel at the airport I'm looking at. It's only $5.48. Okay? So that's how you do fuel with a product. Very, very handy to do. Let's take a look at weather. So on the weather, we have a weather gallery both for Canada and the United States. If I click on one of the icons, like say for the United States, I see very similar to FlyQ EFB, my air mats, my freezing levels, my icing potentials. Notice if I resize this, it automatically resizes as well. I'll just leave it like that. So let's pick the freezing. That looks a little odd. Let's put it like this. Now, again, split screen comes in very handy. So I can go to my current, my 3-hour forecast, my 6-hour forecast, and so on. Very easy just with a single tap. Very fast. You can also look up all your nearby weather. Again, this is very similar to what you see when you look up weather for a given airport, but now it's using that location and finding the 5 nearest METARs and the 5 nearest HAFs in the area. So a little bit broader. Finally, let's talk about flight planning. So for flight planning, you can hit the Plans tab, and this is how you create a flight plan. We'll do that in a minute. Or, of course, you can just type it in this way too. So if I want to plan a flight, for example, from Painfield to an airport that I flew to recently, which is in Spokane, I can just type that in. If I put the V on there, it will immediately plan the flight from Painfield to Spokane automatically on Victor Airways. So that's one way to plan the flight. But I'm going to show you what the form here looks like. Okay, so let's plan the flight now. So I can immediately type in my from and my to. I'm going to go to SKA, which I happen to know is the airport in Spokane. By the way, you can type in the word Spokane if you want to. You don't have to know the ident. You can tell it what date you want to take off, the time you want to take off, and so on. Very easy. If you want to go on VFR or IFR, if you prefer to be routed on Victors or jets, or simply train avoidance, or even no routing, all that's available. Here's something completely new. It will also automatically add fuel stops for you with this handy checkbox. So we use the fuel price information that we were just looking at to plan you the cheapest way of getting there in terms of the fuel prices. It will also plan you the cheapest, fastest way of getting there because it will optimize for best winds. If you want, there's more options too. You can give it waypoints in the middle. You can tell it the number on board. You can give it the maximum altitude, cruise altitudes, takeoff fuel, and so on. All of that's available. Normally we hide it, so I'm going to uncheck that. Now let's plan that flight. So I'll say create the flight plan. It takes it a few seconds to create the flight plan. And there it is. Comes right up on the screen, automatically resizes the map, and so on. Various icons on the map show your waypoints. The nav log is right here on the screen, nice and big, easy to read. You can, of course, scroll that left and right to see more columns. Or, of course, if you resize the map, you see more columns as well. Okay. You can change things on it too. If you want to change your takeoff, you click on the takeoff time. If you want to change from VFR to IFR, you click here. You want to change the aircraft type or the pilot, or even rename the flight plan, just click there. Very easy to do. You can print it, you can email it, you can reverse it, you can clear the flight plan, or you can tell it to wind optimize. Very simple. But let's just take a look at something easy. So let's say that I want to know let's put this airport on the map. So that's the airport that we're flying to. Very easy to do, as you can see. If I wanted to find out some more information about that airport, I can do that too. But let's take a look at what it's like to load in an old flight plan. I'm going to now hit the Recent button on the top. It automatically sorts my flight plans by the most recently accessed, but you can change that. So you can say, show me the ones with the most recent takeoff date, or sort it by airport, or even by flight plan name. So I'm going to load in a flight plan they want to take between Painfield, north of Seattle, down to San Francisco. So let's load in that one. It takes just a few seconds to load in the flight plan. And now if I didn't know something about one of these airports, like let's say they don't know anything about MFR, I can click on it, and again I can show it on the map, or I can click on it and you can add waypoints, you can add it above, you can add a waypoint to the end, or you can delete a waypoint. Or in this case, I just want some information about this airport. So I'm going to click Info, and again our split screen capability comes in extremely handy here. Now, one final thing that I want to do, let's modify this flight plan. So I'm going to zoom out. So let's say that it's somewhere around here, and I want to avoid something. I can just drag and drop the map. It's that simple. If I wanted to get around this stuff, go there. So that's what flight planning looks like in what we call Atlas. It's a code name for the product. It's not its real name. It isn't quite ready for prime time yet, but we are accepting beta invitations. So please come to our website and you can see that. So for Seattle Avionics, I'm Steve Pedrachik. Have a great day.